The night was dark, too dark. Not a single star in the sky. Just the sound of crickets, rustling leaves, and hurried footsteps. Somewhere in the heart of a forgotten bush path, a shadowy figure moved fast. A woman, breathing heavily, her wrapper soaked in sweat and fear. Her feet slapped against the soil, her eyes wide with fear, and in her arms, a basket. Not just any basket. Inside was a baby, but this child never cried. Since the day she was born, the house had not known peace. Lights flickered. Dogs barked at nothing. Her father lost his voice. Tonight, her mother had made the choice. God, I beg, forgive me. I no fit keep this darkness anymore. She crept to the front gate of a quiet home, a couple known in the village, good people, but childless, the Ephraims. She laid the baskets gently at their gate, knocked once, twice, and disappeared into the night. And then the baby opened her eyes as black as night. For here, beg. Baby, who keep it for here? God, I beg. It was a cloudy Thursday afternoon in Lagos. The sound of horns from commercial buses echoed down the busy road outside Gbadamosi and Co. Chambers, where Kemi and Nollywood, a brilliant, kind-hearted lawyer, sat by her desk, buried in case files. Her specialty, family law, particularly child protection cases. Her entire life revolved around giving vulnerable children a second chance at life. As she reached for a bottle of water, her colleague Barrister Wale Akinyemi walked in briskly, holding a brown case file. He looked uneasy.
Kemi, please check this out. Something is off,
he said, catching his breath. Kemi looked up, concerned. She opened the file. A black and white photograph of a sad-looking girl with big, distant eyes stared back at her. Her name, Ephraim, 9 years old, was scrawled in red ink on top. The notes beneath were vague, withdrawn, anxious, and one disturbing note. She said her parents want to send her to hell. Kemi paused. Who wrote this report?
her class teacher at Covenant Star Primary School.
Kemi frowned. And nobody has followed it up? Wale sighed.
Everyone thinks it's just another overworked family with stressed out parents. But you know, I don't bring you just anything, Kemi. I need you to look into this.
Kemi nodded slowly, closing the file. I'll go see them tomorrow. That evening, Kemi got dressed for a dinner date with Felix, her longtime friend and newly kindled love interest. They met at a small rooftop lounge in Victoria Island. They laughed and shared stories, but Kemi's mind kept drifting back to the little girl in the file. Something about Eno's eyes wouldn't leave her alone. Later that night, back in her apartment, Kemi sat on her bed, flipping through the file again. The more she read, the more unsettled she became. The details were too vague. It didn't sit right. The next morning, dressed in a clean white blouse and black jeans, Kemi knocked on the rusty black gate of the Ephraim residence. A woman with cold eyes and a tight wrapper answered. "Yes, waiting," she asked, not smiling. "I'm Barrister Kemi Ayinde. I'm here to speak to you and your husband about your daughter, Eno." The woman hesitated, then let her in without a word. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. The living room was neat but felt off. Mr. Ephraim sat on a worn leather chair, glued to NTA News, not even sparing Kemi a glance. "I would like to speak with you both about your daughter, Eno." Mrs. Ephraim folded her arms. "We no get any problem for this house, Madam Lawyer. Our pikin dey fine. I beg, go tell her school say make they stop to the same busybody they come our house." Kemi raised an eyebrow. "All right, may I speak with your daughter then?" "She dey sleep," the woman snapped. "And we no get any problem for this house." Kemi sensed tension. The air air was heavy. Mr. Ephraim finally looked at her. Just one long, dead stare. No welcome, no words, just silence. Something was wrong here. Terribly wrong. Back at the office, Kemi slammed the file shut. Wale, that child is not safe.
Do we have proof?
Wale asked carefully. Kemi looked him dead in the eye. Not yet, but I'm going to get it. Days after her awkward visit to the Ephraim's flat, Kemi and Inde sat in a quiet meeting room inside the chambers as Mr. and Mrs. Ephraim walked in with their daughter Eno, sandwiched between them. This time, Mr. Ephraim was all smiles, charming, articulate, the complete opposite of the silent man she met earlier. He praised his daughter, waved off concerns, and called the report from the school an unfortunate exaggeration. But Kemi's instincts didn't relax. After the formalities, Kemi stood up and with a disarming smile said, "Ah, Eno, come and show me your drawing skills, Joe. Let mommy and daddy relax small." She stylishly excused Eno for a brief chat. She held the child's hands gently and walked her toward the corridor, pretending it was all casual. Kemi bent slightly, looked into Eno's dull eyes and spoke softly. "My dear, are you okay at home? You can tell me. I want to help you." Eno blinked slowly, then whispered, They don't like me. They say I am not normal. They want to send me away forever." Kemi's heart sank, but she knew words alone wouldn't save this child. She quickly slipped her business card into Eno's tiny hand and whispered, "If you ever feel scared or alone, call me. Anytime. Just call." She smiled warmly and watched as Eno nodded and quietly walked back to join her parents. That night, Kemi was in her pajamas watching the 10 o'clock news when her phone rang. It was Eno. Her voice was trembling and urgent. "Auntie Kemi, I am scared. They gave me something to drink. Now I'm sleepy. Please come quickly. I think they are taking me away." Then silence. Kemi jumped up, grabbed her keys and called Inspector Mike Udo. "Mike, I think they are going to kill that child tonight. Meet me at Olayinka Street." Meanwhile, in the Ephraim's residence, Eno, after dropping the call, slid into bed, shutting her eyes, pretending to be asleep. She knew what was coming. Moments later, the door creaked open. Mr. and Mrs. Ephraim stepped in silently. They didn't speak. They simply wrapped Eno in a white cloth like a sleeping corpse, tied it gently and carried her out through the back door. Outside, Mr. Ephraim popped open the car trunk and gently placed her in. He wiped sweat from his brow, got into the car, glanced at his wife in the front seat, then drove off into the night. The car hummed down a dusty road until they reached a narrow bush path. The engine stopped. Crickets chirped as they got down.
"Hope say she drink that medicine well."
Mr. Ephraim asked in a low voice. "You no trust me again?" His wife hissed. "I put her well. If not, she for don't wake up, Tete." Together, they dragged Eno deeper into the bush until they reached a clearing. A big roaring flame stood at the center. Two men waited silently beside it. Mr. Ephraim walked briskly over, handed them a thick envelope and whispered,
"Thank you. Nobody must see about this."
Quickly, the men collected the envelope and disappeared into the bush. The couple then laid Eno gently by the fire and began chanting in low, urgent tones. Their hands raised. The fire fled higher as though responding to the chants. Then, Mr. Ephraim bent down and lifted Eno into his arms. And just as he was about to throw her into the flames, a commanding voice boomed from the shadows.
"Stop, or I shoot!"
Inspector Mike stepped out, pistol raised. Flashlights came on behind him. Mr. and Mrs. Ephraim froze.
"You are surrounded."
Mike said calmly.
"Move and you die."
In minutes, they were on the ground, handcuffed and silenced. As the officers led them away, Eno slowly sat up, groggy but alive. Kemi, who had hidden behind the patrol truck all along, rushed forward and knelt beside her. "Eno," she whispered, tears in her eyes. Are you okay?" Eno clung to her. "Please, Auntie, don't take me back to them. They will kill me." Please, let me stay with you. Kemi looked up at Mike and nodded. She wasn't just taking a case anymore. She was taking a child. The next morning, Kemi Ayinde was at the family welfare board, sleep deprived but resolute. Kemi stood before the directors and made her case, and has no one else. The system failed her once. I won't let it happen again. Please, let her stay with me temporarily while we sort out her placement. After a long silence, the head of the board sighed.
All right, it's a temporary custody, and we will need weekly updates.
Relieved, Kemi signed the papers and hurried home. Back home, Eno sat curled on the couch, hugging a pillow. When Kemi broke the news with a soft smile, the child burst into quiet tears of relief as she hugged Kemi. That evening, Kemi visited the Ephraim's residence to pick up Eno's belongings. The compound felt heavier than before, like fear still lingered in the air. Inside, she opened the parents' bedroom and her breath caught. 3 heavy padlocks fixed on the inside of the door. Scratch marks lined the wooden floor, like someone had tried to claw their way in or out. Chills ran down her spine. What exactly were they protecting or hiding from? That same week, Kemi enrolled Eno at Lynda's private school, just a few streets from her office. It was a small, decent school with kind teachers and strict routines, perfect for helping Eno settle into normal life. Every morning, Kemi dropped Eno off before heading to court, her heart a little lighter knowing the girl was safe, or so she thought. Eno adjusted quickly. She was quiet but sharp, and within days, she made a friend, Toby, a boy with wide eyes and a sad smile. One sunny Wednesday, during break time, Eno spotted Toby sitting alone under a mango tree, holding his stomach. She walked over. Toby, why are you not playing? He looked up, eyes glossy. My mommy has no strength to make food today. My daddy beat her again last night. Eno sat beside him, quiet for a moment. Then she whispered, That's not right. Your mommy shouldn't be suffering like that. Toby sniffled. Sometimes, I wish daddy would just go away. Eno looked straight at him. Something in her shifted. Her once soft brown eyes slowly darkened into an unseen pitch black glow. Calmly, she said, Don't worry, Toby. I will help you fix it. The next day, just before noon, Wale called.
Kemi, something has happened.
He said, his tone grim.
That boy from Eno's new school, Toby, his parents were found dead in their sleep last night.
Kemi's heart dropped. The crime scene was already cordoned off when Kemi arrived at Toby's family house in Mushin. Bloodstains trailed across the tiled floor. The walls were silent, yet something screamed from within. Inspector Mike Udo stood near the doorway, arms folded.
Kemi, you won't believe this,
he muttered.
Neighbors said they heard the boy screaming like an animal.
She blinked. Where is Toby now? Mike pointed.
They are transferring him to a psychiatric facility. He kept muttering, saying the voice asked him to do it.
Kemi froze. What voice? Mike shrugged.
Nobody knows, but this is the second child from Eno's school.
The next morning, Felix, Kemi's boyfriend, came over to check on her. He noticed something strange.
Babe, this child, she doesn't blink often, and she hasn't said a word to me. She looked strange. Don't you think you should take her away from your house?
She's been through a lot, Kemi said, brushing it off. But something inside her stirred. Moments later, Felix sat beside Eno, who was doing her homework. He smiled gently.
Come on, Eno. You didn't tick any box. You are not afraid of anything, are you?
The girl looked at him, eyes steady. I only fear myself. Felix blinked, unsure if he heard correctly. Then Eno leaned forward slightly. You said you were scared of rats, right? Felix nodded slowly.
Yes, since childhood.
Eno tilted her head. You should check the ceiling at night. You never know when they might come down, one by one. Felix chuckled awkwardly, but his chest tightened. That night in his flat, Felix woke up to the sound of scratching in the ceiling, and as words echoed in his mind. He shook it off, got up and walked down the corridor. Then he saw it, a hole in the ceiling. His brows furrowed.
How did this get here?
He fetched a chair, climbed up and pointed his phone's torchlight into the dark space above. Nothing, just dust and silence. Felix exhaled.
I'll fix it tomorrow.
But as he shifted to get down, a sound came. Skrrrr. Then a surge of black rats burst through the hole like a flood. Felix screamed, lost his balance, and crashed to the floor. Before he could crawl away, they were on him, biting, clawing, tearing. His screams echoed, then stopped. By morning, all that remained was a body, half eaten by rats. Kemi was helping Neno get dressed for school, gently brushing her hair and buttoning her shirt. Then her phone rang. It was Mike.
Kemi,
His voice was tight.
you need to come to Felix's apartment now.
Fear gripped Kemi. Mike, hope all is well.
Kemi, just come.
Kemi quickly dropped Neno off at school before heading to Felix's house. When she got there, the compound was surrounded by the police. An ambulance idled nearby. As she ran forward, two paramedics wheeled the covered body into the back of the van. Kemi's breath caught. No, Felix! She rushed toward the stretcher, but Mike held her tightly, stopping her.
Kemi,
He whispered, holding her shoulders as she trembled.
don't look.
Tears streamed down her cheeks. What happened, Mike? What happened to my Felix? Mike looked down, shaking.
I don't know, but Kemi, this thing, it's not ordinary.
The house was quiet, too quiet. Kemi sat on the edge of her bed, still in her office wear, staring at nothing. Her hands trembled slightly as she held a picture of her and Felix. Tears streamed down her eyes uncontrollably. Indeed, he was gone, and the image of his body, what little she had seen, refused to leave her mind. Mike's words replayed, "This thing is not ordinary." Suddenly, she had a soft humming. Kemi stood slowly, heart pounding, and peeked into the living room. And it was drawing, still humming, still calm. "What are you drawing?" Kemi asked gently. The girl looked up and turned the paper. A crude sketch of a man lying on the floor with rats all around him. Kemi's lips parted. "Where did you see that?" she asked. "I didn't," Anna replied, smiling. "It just came." That night, Kemi couldn't sleep. She locked her door, double-bolted it, and left the lights on. The padlocks on the Ephraim's bedroom door flashed in her mind. Were they trying to keep something out or lock something in? At 12:13 a.m., her phone vibrated. It was a call from Mike.
Kemi, I just read Felix's autopsy report. They found deep bite wounds. Kemi, be careful, please.
Kemi gripped the phone tightly. Then she heard it, a knock on her door. She tiptoed out of her bed, heart in her mouth. "Who's there?" she whispered. Silence. Then a child's voice from the other side. "Auntie Kemi, I am scared. Can I come and sleep beside you tonight?" Kemi's blood ran cold. The locks, the door, the voice. She backed away slowly, too afraid to move, too afraid to open. "Auntie Kemi," Anna's voice came again. "I'm scared. Can I sleep beside you tonight?" Something didn't feel right. Kemi turned slowly, reaching for her phone to call for help, but froze. Anna was right behind her, face pale, eyes dark. She reached for Kemi's neck, and then she grabbed her neck. Kemi screamed, and in that moment, she jolted awake, drenched in sweat. It was a dream, but it felt too real. Kemi jumped up, unlocked her bedroom door and crept into the living room. Anna was already seated on the couch in her school uniform. "Good morning, Auntie," she said with an innocent smile. Kemi stared at her. "Anna, did you knock on my door last night?" Anna blinked. "No, Auntie, I slept all through." Kemi's throat tightened. Her voice was barely steady. "I must have imagined it." Later that afternoon, Kemi met Mike at a quiet cafe in Yaba. Her voice was slow. "Mike, I don't know how to explain this. I know he's behaving weird. Cold one moment, sweet the next. And I have been having this nightmare about her. She's always looking dead in my dreams. Always trying to kill me. Mike, I am scared." Mike leaned forward, eyes dark.
Kemi, I think it's time we visit our parents. Something is not adding up at all. There must be a reason why they wanted to get rid of her.
Kemi's hands tightened around her cup.
And I have a bad feeling we are only seeing the surface.
The weather was gloomy as Kemi and Inspector Mike drove into Abuja Women's Prison. Thunder rolled faintly in the distance. Inside, after tight scrutiny checks, a wardress led them down a long corridor toward the psychiatric wing. She's been quiet since her arrest, the wardress muttered. Sometimes she screams in her sleep. Sometimes she just stares. When they entered the visitation room, Mrs. Ephraim was already there, strapped to a metal chair, her eyes sunken, hair messy and wild. Her wrists trembled against the restraints. She looked up slowly and smiled. "I told them," she whispered, but nobody listened. Mike stepped forward.
"Madam, we are here because of your daughter, Eno."
Mrs. Ephraim flinched at the name. "She's not my daughter." Kemi leaned in, heart pounding. "What do you mean?" The woman's eyes glistened. "She was normal. I picked her up. Then the voices started. Then the drawings. Then the deaths." Mike's brows furrowed.
"What deaths?"
"Our dog. Then my brother. Then my mother. Anyone who upset her, they would just die." Her voice cracked. "I begged my husband to run, but she wouldn't let us go." Kemi whispered. "You laced her drink with sleeping pills, right? Why did you do that?" "Because it was the only way to get rid of her. She doesn't sleep unless she wants to. And when she's awake, things happen." "Things like what?" Kemi asked. "Deaths. She knows people's fears. She reads minds." The woman whispered. "She feeds on your fear." Mike leaned back, shaken.
"You're saying she's possessed?"
Mrs. Ephraim smiled faintly. "No, she's not just possessed. She's a demon." Suddenly, Mrs. Ephraim lunged forward against her restraints. "Get rid of her before she consumes you too." The guards rushed in to restrain her further. As Kemi and Mike were escorted out, Kemi's hands were trembling. Mike said nothing for a long time, then finally,
"We're in trouble, Kemi."
That evening, Kemi sat alone in her car, parked inside the compound, just outside the building. She hadn't gone inside. She couldn't. Mrs. Ephraim's words echoed in her head. "Get rid of her before she consumes you." Kemi shut her eyes, gripped the steering wheel tightly. Her whole body was tense. For the first time in her life, she was truly afraid of a child. Then her phone buzzed. It was Mike.
"Kemi,"
he said, voice low.
"Mrs. Ephraim is dead."
Jesus! Kemi gasped. "How? What happened?"
"I don't know. I just got the call from the prison. They found her body in her cell. She was screaming before it happened."
Kemi went cold, her lips trembling. How did I get myself into this? She felt the tears build. Her chest tightened. Then a knock on the car window. She froze. "Auntie, it's dark. Come inside." It was Eno, standing there, blank-faced in the shadows. Kemi didn't move. The knock came again, gentle, incessant. Finally, she stepped out, and just as her feet touched the ground, Eno grabbed her wrist. "Auntie," she said with an eerie calmness, "let us go in. It's dark." Kemi nodded slowly and walked beside her into the house, her heart screaming. By morning, Kemi woke up breathless from yet another nightmare. Her heart pounding, she rushed into the living room. There sat Eno, fully dressed, school bag on her back. "Auntie, good morning," she said sweetly. "I am not your auntie," Kemi snapped, louder than she meant to. Eno's smile dropped. Her face slowly turned cold, mean, eerie. That stare. In that instant, Kemi knew she had to get rid of her. "Oh, I'm sorry, baby," she backpedaled, forcing a shaky laugh. "Bad dream. It's messing up with my head. Let me quickly drop you off at school." They drove in silence. As soon as Eno stepped into the school gate, Kemi grabbed her phone and sent a quick text to Wale. "I'll be coming to work late. Something urgent came up." She then drove straight to Mike's office. "Mike," she said, pacing, "this girl is driving me nuts. Nobody will believe me. I regret ever taking her in." Mike calmly replied,
"Then tell the board. Say you can't house her anymore."
But Kemi shook her head. "And send her to another home? Another victim? No, Mike, I can't do that." Mike stared at her.
"Then you have to eliminate her."
Kemi didn't flinch. "Yes, that's exactly what I would do. I just need time to figure it out." And in that moment, Mike hugged her. "Just know I'll always be here for you." That evening, Mike closed from work and got into his car, tired but relieved. He was halfway home, humming to the radio, when a truck came out of nowhere and ran straight into his vehicle. The sound was deafening. Glass shattered, metal twisted, and then silence. The next morning, Kemi's phone rang as she lay on her bed, pretending to be asleep. It was Wale, voice low and shaky.
"Kemi, Mike is in the hospital. Critical condition. An accident."
Kemi gasped. "What happened?"
"A trailer with a failed brake hit his car last night. They are saying it's a miracle he's even alive."
Her world went still. She ended the call and gripped the phone tight, her knuckles white. And no, she knew it. Kemi drove straight to the hospital. When she saw Mike unconscious, wrapped in bandages, machines beeping, her knees buckled. This was no coincidence. It was a warning. That night, Kemi sat alone in her living room and walked in slowly, barefoot, in her nightgown holding a stuffed bear. "Auntie," she said, "will Uncle Mike be okay?" Kemi looked up at her, trembling. "Why do you ask?" Eno smiled faintly. "Because you said he's always here for you, but he isn't now, is he?" Kemi's heart skipped. She stood, walked past Eno without a word, locked her bedroom door and slumped to the floor in tears. She was truly alone now, and she knew what she had to do next. That night, Kemi moved like a ghost through her kitchen, silent, steady, determined. She made tea and buttered bread, nothing special, just enough to keep things normal. She served Eno her cup and with a smile, then took hers too. They sat together on the dining table, eating in silence. Within minutes, Eno's eyelids fluttered and she began to yawn. "Are you tired?" Kemi asked softly. Eno nodded sleepily. "Very." Moments later, her head dropped to the table, fast asleep. Kemi's hands trembled slightly as she stood. She had dropped sleeping pills into Eno's tea earlier, a strong dose. She checked her pulse, still steady, deep sleep. With trembling arms, Kemi lifted Eno and carried her quietly to the car. She buckled her in the passenger seat like a peaceful child, locked the door and started the engine. She just drove towards the third mainland bridge. The roads were quiet, but not deserted. That was intentional. She timed it perfectly, not too late. A few cars still passed, headlights flickering by. If anything goes wrong, she whispered to herself, someone will be nearby. As she approached the edge of the bridge, her foot pressed harder on the throttle. Her hands gripped the wheel. Then she swerved. The car broke through the railing and plunged off the edge. Crash! The vehicle hit the water hard. It sank deeper, faster. Cold rushed in. That was when Eno's eyes snapped open. Black, pitch black, not human. Kemi gasped and quickly unbuckled herself, but Eno turned to her, hissing through clenched teeth. Kemi panicked. She shoved the car door, forcing it open. Eno reached for her, claws stretching, face transforming into something horrific. "Auntie!" she screamed, voice layered, part child, part something else. Kemi screamed back and kicked her away, forcing herself out of the sinking vehicle. Eno tried to follow, but Kemi held onto the edge of the car and shoved Eno backward, locking her arms against the seat. "No more!" Kemi cried. "No more!" Eno screamed violently, thrashing in the water, her voice turning demonic, but the car was sinking fast. Kemi broke free, swimming toward the surface with all the strength she had left. The water pulled her, dragging her, slapped her, but she kept going. Behind her, Eno pounded on the glass, screaming, clawing, begging, then silence. The car sank until it disappeared into darkness. Minutes later, Kemi surfaced, gasping, choking, clinging to the edge of the riverbank. A fisherman nearby had spotted the splash and rushed in. She collapsed into his arms, weeping uncontrollably.
What happened, madam?
He asked, but Kemi could only whisper one thing: she's gone. And in the blackness below the waves, the river was finally still. And so, beneath the waters of the third mainland bridge, the evil that wore the face of a little girl was finally silenced. Kemi didn't walk away unscared. She lost friends, she lost peace, but she chose courage over comfort. And because of that, many others would leave. Sometimes evil doesn't wear horns. Sometimes it comes in the form of innocence wrapped in smiles. If you enjoyed this story and would like to see more interesting stories, please consider subscribing to this channel, not forgetting to turn on your post notification icon so that once a new video is being posted, you will be the first to be notified. Remember, the most dangerous demons don't come from hell, they live among us. Always pray and trust your instincts. So we'll meet again in my next video. Remain blessed.